What is the lesson of the parable of the fig tree? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Mark on Walking Through the Bible.
Of his word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Mark chapter 13. We're going to be reading from verses 24 to 37. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Mark chapter 13, beginning at verse 24. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars of heaven will fall, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And then he will send his angels and gather together his elect from the four winds, from the farthest part of the earth to the farthest part of heaven. Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branches have already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see these things happening, know that this is near, at the doors. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. But of that day and hour knows no one, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Take heed, watch and pray, for you do not know when the time is. It is like a man going to a far country who left his house and gave authority to his servants and to each his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Watch therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, in the evening, at midnight, at the crowing of the rooster, or in the morning, lest, coming suddenly, he find you sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch. In this chapter, we've been discussing the answer to two questions posed by the disciples about when the destruction of the temple would take place, as well as a question not mentioned by Mark, but mentioned by Matthew, which is, when would Jesus' second coming be? In verses 5 to 31, we have Mark answering about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, using the last part of the chapter to deal with Jesus' second coming. We thus far completed 2 episodes in this chapter, with this one being the final episode. So we invite you to go to eastendchurch.org and search under the Media/WTTB English Podcast tab to listen to the entire chapter before asking questions or leaving comments. In our last episode, we discussed the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, a desolation we showed represented the Roman army which surrounded and destroyed Jerusalem and its temple in 70 AD. So Jesus has set up to this point that there would be plenty of signs that would allow Christians to escape the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. After this time of tribulation, we have the sun being darkened and stars falling from heaven, figures of speech used in the Bible to represent judgment. Then verses 26 and 27 says that the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the clouds with power and great glory, and the Son of Man will send his angels to gather his elect from the four winds, meaning everywhere. It is here that many believe Jesus is speaking about his second coming, simply because the phrase coming in the clouds is used, language that is also used for the second coming. But in the Old Testament, God is numerous times pictured as riding on the clouds, Psalm 68 verse 4 being one example. When used in this way, these clouds not only bring rescue, as they do to the elect in this chapter because they heeded the words of Jesus, but they also bring judgment, as is in Jeremiah 4:13. So just because we read of the Son of Man coming in the clouds doesn't necessarily mean we're talking about the second coming. It could also be talking figuratively about impending judgment. So which is it? The easiest way to understand this is to go back to Mark 13 and read verse 30. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. The sign Jesus spoke of would be seen by some in that generation. If it wasn't seen, then Jesus is a liar. The only problem we have is when we try and make this sign about Jesus' second coming. It was not. It was a sign for the impending destruction of Jerusalem, a sign that would be fulfilled in 70 AD when Jerusalem and the temple in Jerusalem were destroyed by the Roman armies. If Jesus' followers heeded his warnings and learned from the parable of the fig tree, which taught them to look for the signs that Jesus spoke of, they would be spared. If, however, they didn't heed his words, they would be lost because they would be killed by the Romans. By reading history, we know that all of this happened just like Jesus said it would. For the temple was destroyed in 70 AD during the lives of this generation, and not one stone was left upon another. Coming now to verse 32, we have a transition from an event that would be preceded by signs to an event that would have no advance warning, that of Jesus' second coming. Jesus said that nobody knows the day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. This statement confuses some, for Jesus is God, and God is all-knowing, so how is there something that Jesus does not know? Far be it from me to boldly state that I know all things, but two things are quite clear to me. One, there is much that we do not know about the relationship between the Father and Jesus, and two, our definition of what all-knowing means is somewhat simplistic. Being all-knowing means knowing that there everything that can be known. Mankind is not all-knowing, for there is plenty that we do not know. God is all-knowing, and Jesus is God, yet it appears that because God the Father is supreme, as 1 Corinthians 11 verse 3 says, that there are some things that he chooses not to reveal even to the Son. This does not make Jesus any less God, however. It does show us the full picture of God is too great for our feeble minds to comprehend. We can, though, accept on faith what Jesus said here as true, even if we don't fully understand how and why. Jesus tells them about his second coming, that they need to take heed and pray and do not fall asleep, for they did not know when that time would be. Jesus has not come yet, so this is an admonition for us as well. With that, our time is up for today. We'll be taking our year-end break and we'll return, the Lord willing, on Monday, January 6th, 2020. When we return, we'll take up with Mark 14, verses 1 to 9. From the entire East End Church of Christ in Toronto, Canada, we thank you for watching these podcasts this year, and we wish you a safe and joyful holiday season as well as a happy new year. We hope that you'll come back to watch in 2020 when we will continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.